What if the tallest structures ancient Egypt ever built weren't monuments at all? What if they were antennas? What if for thousands of years we've been staring at a power grid and calling it religion? Last time, we asked whether the pharaohs had electricity. Today, the question gets bigger. Because if part 1 was about the light bulb, part 2 is about where the power came from. There are over 24 ancient Egyptian obelisks still standing today. Some in Egypt. Many more were taken by Rome, by France, by England, by America. The Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. is itself an obelisk, built in direct imitation of the Egyptian originals. Nobody asks why the most powerful nation on Earth chose that shape for its most iconic structure. But let's start with what we know for certain. An Egyptian obelisk is a single shaft of granite, not assembled, not stacked, cut from one continuous piece of rock. Some of the largest weigh over 500 tons. The unfinished obelisk still lying in the quarry at Aswan would have weighed over 1,000 tons if completed. 1,000 tons of solid granite, left unfinished in the rock, as if the people who began it simply vanished mid-task. Officially, they were built to honor the sun god Ra, and at the very top of each obelisk, a capstone called a pyramidion, typically sheathed in electrum. Electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. One of the most electrically conductive materials found in nature. Chosen specifically, the official story says, for its beauty and its ability to catch the first rays of the morning sun. And maybe that's all it was, a shining monument, a symbol of divine light reaching toward heaven. But the fact that they chose the most conductive material available and placed it at the highest point of the tallest structures they built is a detail that certain researchers refuse to let go. To understand the theory, you need to understand what granite actually is. Granite is not a uniform rock. It's a mixture of minerals, and roughly 25 to 40% of it is pure quartz crystal. And quartz crystal has a property that mainstream physics has known about since 1880. It's called the piezoelectric effect. When you squeeze quartz, when you apply mechanical pressure, it generates a measurable electric charge. This isn't fringe science. It's the same principle used in your wristwatch oscillator, in the spark of a gas lighter, in sonar equipment used by every navy on Earth. Now consider, an obelisk is an enormous column of quartz-rich granite, standing upright, under its own colossal weight, applying constant mechanical pressure to millions of quartz crystals, continuously. The piezoelectric theory argues that this constant pressure on the quartz inside the granite would generate a continuous low-level electric charge, running through the stone, from base to tip. And at the top, the electrum cap, one of the best natural conductors available in the ancient world, waiting to receive it. A stone antenna, pulling charge from the earth itself, funneling it upward through millions of compressed quartz crystals into a golden conductive tip, pointed at the sky. Now, mainstream physics is clear on this point. The piezoelectric effect in granite is real, but the charge it generates under gravitational pressure alone is extremely small. Far too small, scientists say, to power anything. But the theory doesn't stop at one obelisk. It asks a different question. What if it was never about one stone generating power alone? Look at where Egyptian obelisks were placed. Not randomly. Not wherever a pharaoh felt like putting one. They appear at major temple complexes, Karnak, Luxor, Heliopolis, Memphis, sites that ancient Egyptian theology placed at specific intersections of what they called lines of divine energy. The Egyptians called this energy Heka, a word usually translated simply as magic, but which in older texts carries the meaning of life force, of animating power, of the energy underlying all creation. What if Heka wasn't metaphor? What if it was a description, in the language available to them, of something they had actually measured and used? At Karnak alone, Pharaoh Thutmose I erected 2 obelisks at the entrance of the temple. Thutmose III added 2 more. Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's most powerful rulers, added another pair, famously capped in electrum, that ancient texts say could be seen glowing from miles away. Glowing from miles away. That phrase appears in the ancient records. Mainstream historians say it describes reflected sunlight, but reflected sunlight doesn't glow at night. And when you map the major obelisk sites across ancient Egypt, the distances between them follow patterns that some researchers describe as suspiciously regular. Consistent intervals, oriented alignments, a geometry that doesn't quite feel accidental. Could they have been a network? A system of stone conductors spaced across the land, each drawing charge from the earth, each feeding into the next? No single pharaoh built all the obelisks. They span dynasties, centuries, different rulers. And yet the placement logic, if there is one, holds. Which raises an even deeper question. Was someone following a blueprint? Here's what makes this stranger. When Rome conquered Egypt, the emperors didn't melt down the obelisks for gold. They didn't destroy them. They moved them, at enormous expense and effort, to the centers of their most important cities. The most sacred site in the Catholic world has an Egyptian obelisk standing at its center. It was moved from Heliopolis to Rome by Emperor Caligula in 37 AD, then repositioned to St. Peter's Square by Pope Sixtus V in 1586, a move that took 900 workers, 140 horses, and 47 cranes. 900 workers. To move a stone that, officially, was nothing more than a decorative monument the Romans had already conquered and stripped of meaning. You don't move dead weight that far, that carefully, across centuries, unless it's still doing something, or unless someone, somewhere, believed that it was. Quartz that generates charge under pressure, conductive caps at the highest point, placement patterns across hundreds of miles, and conquerors who couldn't stop moving them. 2 parts in, 2 technologies we don't have complete answers for. But here's what's been bothering us since part 1. If the Dendera relief shows a light source, and the obelisks were the grid that powered it, then somewhere in Egypt, there should be evidence of what that power was used to build. And there is. It's just that what we've found shouldn't be possible. Part 3. The impossible machines. Granite cut with tolerances that match modern CNC equipment. Holes drilled through the hardest stone on Earth, faster than we can drill today. And structures so precisely aligned that GPS didn't improve on them. Subscribe, because part 3 is where the mystery stops being a theory and starts being a problem for everything we think we know.